Welcome to the Never Ending Backlog podcast, your place for short reviews from a gamer with the goal of reducing his backlog. From adventures to sandboxes, join our host as we walk through a collection of unplayed treasures. Now, let's take a look at the featured game of this episode of the Never Ending Backlog.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Never Ending Backlog podcast. I'm your host Zach, and today we'll be reviewing the horror game Dead by Daylight. This game is full of your traditional slasher film mistakes. Four younglings, as Anakin Skywalker likes to call them in episode 3, visit a farm filled with multiple generators that open up a gate for their escape. When will they learn? Stop walking into spooky farms with electric locked gates and hellish looking hooks hanging from trees. When will they learn? Today we're reviewing, as I mentioned, Dead by Daylight, the 1 vs. 4 survival horror action game. This is one I've played when it was first released, however I moved on from it and never returned to it. Likely I purchased something else, got spooked, or just saw a squirrel. I'm going to go with the last one, as that's the most likely candidate. But enough dilly-dallying, let's jump back into Dead by Daylight on Steam. What is it? Dead by Daylight is a multiplayer 4 vs. 1, it's more 1 vs. 4, horror game where one player takes on the role of the savage killer, and the other 4 players play as survivors, trying to escape the killer and avoid being caught and killed. Easy enough. Genre: action, team survival, horror. Release date: 2016. Not that old. Developer is Behavior Interactive Incorporated. Publisher is Behavior Interactive Incorporated. Current price: $19.99. According to Is There Any Deal, the best price was free on Steam at one point in time. However, you can pick this game up for $7.99 on Fanatical at this moment, which I have a link on my website. Now, let's review this game. I actually played this one on NVIDIA's GeForce Now service since I wanted to play it while I was on my laptop in bed. And my laptop is absolutely not a gaming laptop. Though I'm not a huge fan of NVIDIA Now, since there's quite a few games missing that I want to play, it does allow my wife to play games that I have purchased for her over the years on her older Mac Mini, which she prefers more. That I wouldn't really be able to play much of anything on it. It works for that, especially considering it's only around $5 per month, and I can play games like The Division 2, which works flawlessly. Fortunately, I have fiber gig internet for those wondering, how fast is your internet? So, the install isn't as relevant in this case due to the fact that NVIDIA now instantly installs games and pushes 1920 by 1080 at ultra settings, which looks great for this game. Overall the graphics, like I mentioned, look great. There weren't any bugs, and the textures looked smooth. It's certainly a darker game, so I adjusted the gamma a bit to make up for it. Other than that, it's clean. The nature textures are well done. The grass and corn textures do a great job at masking survivors that are hiding from the slasher, so that seemed realistic enough. Fun little story, I actually lived next to a cornfield when I was a young kid, and we'd often play hide and seek in the cornfield, with the person that actually owned the cornfield permission, of course, but it was great. We actually played flashlight tag. It was a great time. Good memories. Anyway, jumping back in, the audio. The music picks up as the slasher begins chasing a survivor, which makes it exciting for both parties. The sound effects are well done, and it certainly has all the sound qualities of a classic slasher movie. Controls are also smooth. They are traditional WSAD and didn't require any modifications. I actually used an M570 Logitech trackball mouse, which I traditionally don't use for gaming since I still prefer the traditional mouse experience. However, with my laptop, a trackball is a much better experience than a trackpad, especially if you're in bed or on a couch without a dedicated smooth platform for a full mouse experience. The trackball worked quite well actually, and in fact on my first game I was able to kill one of the survivors as the slasher. So that worked pretty well considering I never used trackball devices for first-person shooter games, and that I'm terrible at this game since that was my first round and I killed somebody, so yeah. Gameplay. This is a game that is essentially a slasher flick. If you like them, then you will love this game. One person is a slasher, and the other 4 are traditional teenagers. The teenagers' goals are to start up generators and escape the map. The slasher's goal is to stop them by injuring them, then carrying them to a hook hanging from a tree where they will then be impaled. Yes, this game is gory. Just know that right now. If you have a weak stomach, don't play this game. If you don't like blood, don't play this game. If the thought of a person being impaled by a hook scares you, do not play this game. It is a gory game. It's one of the goriest games I've played in quite some time. It's gory. Anyway, regarding difficulty, it's hard to judge this game's difficulty as it's primarily controlled by human players. I don't think there's actually any CPU player mode you can do. If you have a great team of survivors, then they can tend to carry the team, even if you're terrible. Or if you are placed against a rookie slasher, then you can easily escape as well. However, if you are placed against a pro slasher, then it's likely your team won't last long. I will say the controls are your standard WSAD, and everything flows well. The slasher has ample opportunities to catch up with the survivors, and the survivors can communicate to throw off the slasher. I'll share that tip later. Achievements. I have earned 1 out of 161 achievements. Oof, that's a lot of achievements. I like it though. Usually when games have that many, they just throw them out there. Achievement for changing resolution. Achievement for earning an achievement. Regarding pros, it's a balanced game, at least in my playtime. 1 versus 4 action game. I'll review Crawl as well, and that was as well, so it was nice to see that. They have a variety of characters to play as, slashers and survivors alike. There are also a ton of cool themes that you can purchase, such as Stranger Things, Silent Hill, etc. But, as I'll mention later, that's a con since you have to pay extra for them. Another pro, if you like slasher movies, this game will get you the closest to that experience for a PC game. It's also not that much, $20. Not too bad. Cons, when I first played this game, there felt like there's far less things to do. However, now that they've released more over the years, it seems they have tech trees, stores, etc. that make it a little intimidating for a 1 versus 4 FPS. So, there's quite a bit to it. The game is based on your team. If you have a poor team, then you likely won't succeed. This can sometimes spoil the game, especially since I'm traditionally that letdown player. That messes up the team. Sorry, team. During my hour of game time, I pretty much always let my team down, but yeah, I just ran around and became the bait for everybody. I personally think this is more of a con. Others might not. However, there's a ton of DLC, and I would rather just have it unlocked, especially considering there is a Stranger Things pack, like I mentioned earlier, which I want. However, I'm not willing to pay $12 for it. I have a qualm with cosmetic DLC packages. I understand they don't play a huge role in the game. However, if the servers go down, which eventually they will, then your purchases are no longer valid. Then again, that applies to Steam as well, so I understand that. I like games that allow you to use cosmetics in multiple play modes, even offline. I think when games essentially open up that collection online offline, I am more likely to buy it. I do, however, like the way Overwatch handles cosmetics. You can get lucky with loot boxes, you can also use your points to unlock them. And they have seasons with special outfits, and many times when the season opens up, you can purchase the seasonal cosmetic issues. It's a better way to handle it, and I respect that quite a bit. Plus, you can pay money to buy loot boxes. So, it's kind of cool. I like it that way. I know people hate loot boxes. I get you. And if it's a loot box that contains items that break the game, I absolutely agree with you. It's a terrible experience. But Overwatch, it's just cosmetic. So regarding tips, as I mentioned earlier, if you're communicating with your team, either a party or open mics, then essentially you can use one character as bait. That was me. While they're being chased, it works well when you run around circle around items, where you can consistently see the slasher as they cannot jump. While that's happening, have the other team members work on enabling generators to prepare your exodus. This does require constant communication, but it allows you to traditionally distract the slasher. If you are the type of person who doesn't enjoy jumpy games, then the benefit of Dead by Daylight is that you can play the slasher, which I believe is invulnerable, and you become the thing that scares others. So I would recommend playing as that character if you don't like jumpy games. Just be the murderer. It works. So would I recommend this game? Absolutely recommend this game. The 1 versus 4 game types are fun, and traditionally they aren't well balanced. However, I feel in this case, it's probably one of the more balanced games. Unlike those like Evolve, which had a great plot, it was just poorly executed. So yes, I do recommend Dead by Daylight. It's a fun game. I get terrified of it, but I like the themes. And you could also argue the point where if you buy all the DLC, it's probably like $40 total, which is still cheaper than most computer games out there anyway, so that's a pretty good price. And like I said, Stranger Things immediately caught my interest, and to be honest, I know I said I don't want to buy it. I'm probably going to buy it. And also, yeah, just a lot to do it. I know they say it's 4v1. Not really. You're not trying to kill the slasher. The slasher's trying to kill you. It's him against you all the time, or her against you if you play as the woman slashers, because those exist too. But anyway, that was my review of Dead by Daylight. Have a great day, and we'll talk on the next episode of the Never Ending Backlog podcast.